Cold open question of the week, Kaz.
What up, Shoes?
What's up, man?
What's up?
I had like a different question, and then I was just like getting hyped about the NBA playoffs this morning, and I was just like, this question occurred to me. I was like, we have to have asked this before, but I don't know what the answer is. So let me ask you this way.
Okay.
Victor Wembanyama, the alien, as some call him. I'm not asking you who is the Wemby of pro wrestling, but what would be conceptually the Wemby of pro wrestling?
I'm glad you asked this because this is definitely something I've been thinking about for a long time. It kind of feels like tall people aren't at an advantage in wrestling, right? Like all the tallest guys you've ever seen in wrestling have never been like world beaters, except for Andre the Giant, right? And that was,
that's a whole different era and
that's a whole different era, and
different archetype, really. I mean, it's the friendly
nerds,
giant.
For the wrestling nerds listening to the show who do not watch basketball, partake in NBA basketball, what makes Wemby so alien-like is that he has all the skills for a body that he's probably not supposed to have, right?
Yeah, he's 7'6", and he can do anything that a 6 foot tall guy can do.
Yes, fluidity is probably the best sort of thing. So I think a wrestling version of Wemby would have to be fluid in many styles.
It's also a one man defense for a whole team, which is like so I guess you're answering the question, but like, yeah, what's the body type? What's the skill set? You got to factor in mic skills because that's part of pro wrestling. Like, what would be the alien?
But you gotta, but I have to be able to look at you.
Yes.
And you still have to pass the airport test. I still have to look at you and be like, how did this become your job?
So what does that look like? Is the Ultimate Warrior the Wemby, like visually a wrestling Wemby? Or is it Andre the Giant? I mean, or is it like, who is the most physically stunning?
Like a physically impossible wrestler. What would he even look like?
Brock Lesnar?
Brock is close. I think Brock is close. Like, when you watch young Brock stuff, like when he was like comically athletic and just like explosive as all hell, you will probably never see an athlete that good be a wrestler again. You know what I mean? But he might be the closest like body type. Like, you have to be strong, you have to be fast, you have to be able to do sunset flips, but also lift up 600-pound dudes and twirl them like little children, you know what I mean? And
like, Brock is already the freak, so the Wemby of wrestling has to sort of outdo Brock. It's got to be like slightly taller, stronger Brock or something.
Right, like it's got to be like Brock, but he's 6'9". You know what I mean?
And he's like, and he's like 6'6" from shoulder to shoulder. Yeah,
and his finishing move is like a Phoenix Splash or some shit.
That's it. It's like Brock. It's like larger Brock Lesnar with Kenny Omega's ring work.
Right. Yeah. Basically, like we need a 6'8" Kenny Omega
and Macho Man Randy Savage promo skills.
Exactly. If you're out there wrestling.
Wait,
you know what I mean?
This guy is out there, you mean?
If there's a guy out there who wants to be the Wemby of wrestling, all you have to do is be 6'8", wrestle as good as and as explosive as 2010's Kenny Omega, and be as strong and comically athletic as Brock Lesnar. That's really just it. That's all you do.
Yeah.
Sprinkle in some Macho Man promo skills, and buddy, you will be the face of the league for a long time coming.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Well,
is Obafemi the closest? Is Obafemi the closest thing we have right now to an existing unicorn in wrestling?
He's pretty close. I think for what he lacks in the aerial ability, he more than makes up for it in the promo skills. Like Obafemi right now is a better promo than Kenny Omega ever.
Wait, I want to talk about his ring work just a little bit, but let's just start the show. This is a conversation. Welcome to the Masked Man Show with Kaz. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good, Shoes. How about yourself, man?
Good. I keep forgetting to say this at the beginning of the show. I have a new book coming out this summer called Why Hulk Hogan Matters. It's available for pre-order on Amazon or wherever you want to pre-order it right now. So please go do that. Those pre-order buys make my publisher like me better. So, do me a solid.
You're way too humble, bro. You're way too humble. You got the the byline, the lower third under the Hulk documentary about, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Author of Why Hulk Hogan Matters. Yes. David Shoemaker has written some of the most important and knowledgeable and wise books in the history of pop culture.
Well,
wrestling.
2 now, yeah.
Well, yeah. The writing on the ringer obviously goes without saying, but the books, obviously, there's very few wrestling books that I've cut through. Not just wrestling fans, but wrestlers themselves.
I appreciate that.
You've done it. You've done it many times. So can't wait to, even though the subject is, I think the subject makes it more interesting. You know what I mean? Like the fact that he's such a complicated ass dude that we talked about at length. You know what I mean? I can't wait to check it out. And congrats, man! Can't wait for the world to see
it. Thank you. I can't wait either.
Actually, I can't. Put you over, brother.
Oh yeah. My
something
favorite,
Hulk Hogan never did.
I can't wait either. My favorite part is when the book comes out and everybody tells me all the things I got wrong. It's one. It's one thing. It's one thing when it happens online. You can be like, "Oh, thanks," and you can have your editor make the change. But then the book is like, "Yeah, well, we'll try to get that into the paperback edition." It's all good.
Let's hope you don't piss Bruce Pritchard off that much. He tried to go in on you on the Vince doc. Bruce Pritchard was tight. I was like, he must have wrote some stuff about him. That's
still the greatest thing that's ever happened to me. I don't want to know about it. So we were talking about, I have so much stuff I want to talk about today. I don't even know what wrestling matches have taken place.
We're almost at the summer of trying stuff, so we could get away with these.
Do you want to talk more about Obafemi, the ring worker? Since I just want to say this. This is just a point. You can respond if not. I feel similarly about Obafemi as I did with Trick Williams, but they're very different workers and have very different resumes and track records. But this much is the same. When they arrived on the main roster, I was not sure if either of them were good wrestlers, like ring bell to bell wrestlers. Trick, I think, has functionally proven. Answered that question. I'm sure he'll still have a couple of stinkers with the wrong dance partners, but he's had a variety. He's had a variety of similarly sized guys, he's been really convincing so far. Obafemi, I never had any question about whether or not they were going to be able to get interesting matches out of him. But because with Obafemi, all you really have to do is have him powerbomb dudes. It's not like there's kind of a lower floor, a higher floor on Obafemi, but I still didn't know if he was good. But I think it really but I didn't even say it out loud because I think it really speaks to where the Performance Center is right now, that almost despite no matter what you see on TV, folks are showing up ready to work. We're seeing Fatal Attraction as the top stars on Smackdown right now. What did I say? Toxic Attraction? I can't believe I got it totally wrong. Toxic, yes. Fatal Influence.
Yes. There's a combination of everything that would be right with one word missing.
Should they have taken a pause and maybe renamed the group prior to their main roster debut? Or is the name's ridiculousness just part of the joy of that trio?
I think so.
It
should sound like a 90s movie that comes on USA Network.
Yeah.
After Silk Stockings.
But what is a fatal influence? It's like being encouraged to die? Toxic Attraction, you get it. Fatal Influence is what? Okay, anyway. But I just wanted to say it. The PC is really prepping these people for success on the big screen, or in the big arenas.
Yeah, I don't think they really need us to tout the success of the Performance Center.
Oh no, we're obligated. Listen, we're obligated if we're gonna get our check. If we're gonna get our check this week, we gotta.
Let me sign that. Hold on, got it. All right. We checked those boxes. You know what? More than just being able to wrestle on the first couple of weeks of being on the main roster, the crowd knows who you are. More than whatever. I know Fatal Influence could wrestle really well, and JC Jane, you've been singing her praises for a long time, how great she's been. But the fact that the crowd reacts to them immediately is the biggest testament of the Performance Center. It's you might it's odd. If you are a wrestler and you are trying to break in, and you can either get paid a lot of money to go wrestle for AEW or go to the Performance Center for reportedly a lot less money. Now at least you have some proof of concept of why you take the less money.
I don't know. I'm sure they're still. I know they're still doing main roster and PC contracts, but I don't know. Even anecdotally, what they're. I mean, I guess I could find this out. What they're doing with the big established stars. Did Julia have to sign a developmental deal that paid her significantly less? Did whatever? Did Ethan Page? By the way, Ethan Page is another one who. I mean, he obviously had a huge career before WWE, before the PC, but he's got a pay-per-view match for the Intercontinental title coming up after having been on the main roster for about 17 minutes. So, I mean, you're right. I mean, I think that there's, I will say this. I mean, the Performance Center is undeniably a force for good. I mean, in terms of like training wrestlers and making stars. But if you're somebody like Ethan Page, or somebody who has, like Ricky Saints, the PC, Blake Monroe, I feel like we've yet to be seen with Blake Monroe or even Ricky Saints, but like, it feels like the time in the PC, even for them, is really paying off. I mean, there was a time where you'd say like, well, it'd be so much cooler if I just appeared on an episode of Raw out of nowhere. Like, yeah, okay. But just in terms of them knowing how to present you when you show up, having everything together, having the whole machine behind you, at least for the few moments at, your debut, I feel like it's really worth it. And like I said, all these dudes are ready to work, Yeah.
And more than that, I think it's more than just being ready to work. You're not just training the wrestlers, you're training the audience. Like a lot of times the PC is good for training the audience to know what this person's all about. It's kind of been like this backwards way of, training these, these future superstars that, it's like somebody, I don't know, like this is probably the big brained idea of the PC in the first place. Like, they kind of wanted to,
it is
at least at some point, once they sort of cannibalized the indies.
In terms of crowd reaction, I'm sorry to cut you off, but in terms of crowd reaction, it is something very brilliant that they have figured out, which is they got these diehard 150 people or however many fit in the PC for episodes of NXT, who not only establish how to get behind these wrestlers, but they also do the homework too. It's not like all organic reactions that they that they whittle down into the perfect. I mean, like, listen, Will Cruz showed up and immediately these wonderful human beings in Orlando were chanting, "He's big, he's bad, he'll body slam your dad." Right? It's like they knew that was coming. They had the chant ready. They'd done their homework. And now, if he showed up on the main roster tomorrow, there'd be 15,000 people. Tonight there'd be 15,000 people in Ross doing that chant, right?
How crazy is that, though? How crazy is that? Like, those same 150 people in the PC are essentially training millions of people at home.
Yes.
How to react to this person once they get on the main roster. Like, here's their chant. Here's their big moves. Here's what you do when their song plays. Like, and look at WrestleMania. 4 of the biggest guys out there were guys that were trained not just in NXT but by the crowd in NXT on how to receive them.
Yep, and listen, you saw Friday night on SmackDown.
Mm-hmm.
You saw that reception that Trick Williams got in South Carolina.
Yes,
one of those all-time moments, right? I mean, I would have loved to teleport in just for that. Just because that's a sort of feeling that doesn't happen often. But yeah, it's 12,000, however many people it was, thousands of people all yelling, "Whoop that Trick" at the top of their lungs. Like, that's thanks to the PC. Now that we're saying this out loud, I'm sure that they've 100% thought about what if they just had ringers inside the PC for every single taping. Like,
they could be ringers. That's the thing.
But I mean, we know that a lot of them are real people, but WWE's had to have thought about what if we just have 20 of our folks in there and torn up old Macho Man sunglasses t-shirts, and we just they practice the chants before the wrestlers come out. Oh man.
But I mean, a lot of those guys aren't getting flown into the PC every week. A lot of them are Florida natives. A lot of those dudes get to know a lot of these NXT guys like pretty intimately.
Yeah,
you know
for
what I
sure.
mean? Like, who's to say there aren't plants or eventually, like, essentially crowd plants? You know what I mean? Like, who's to say, like, yo, Trick Williams doesn't go up to the crowd. There's somebody in the crowd like, yo, I'm telling you, man, this new song I got, just start chanting, whoop that trick to the beat. It's going to catch on. It's going to catch on. Just give it a shot. Who knows? But, how do we get talking about the PC again?
I don't know. Anyway, I do know, but we can move on. Can I say something that's not exactly wrestling related? Did you watch the Ronda Rousey fight on Saturday?
Unfortunately, yes, I did.
Unfortunately...
It was so lit up until that fight. I was like, oh, buddy.
Because it ended so quickly?
You got me.
Well, okay. All of the matches ended so quickly, which probably it should not come as a shock to anyone that, like, any actual student of the game, which is to say that, like, these matchmakers were more interested in, like the clash of styles aspect or the stories they could tell. And inevitably, when your talent pool is relatively small because you're employing fighters who are not under full-time contract to UFC or somewhere else, you end just by it's hard enough to find people who can like make the same weight, let alone people you've heard of. And then once you find two people you've heard of and put them in there, then like one of the two is probably going to be pretty freaking dominant. I mean, it shouldn't come as a shock to anyone that Ronda Rousey won that quickly because her opponent was a decade older and recently lost 100 pounds. Gina Carano was very important for the game, but that shouldn't come as a huge shock. But what was really interesting to me was, as a UFC fan, someone who's watched a lot of UFC and other MMA promotions over the years, was just how, regardless of the mismatches, just how how fulfilling the whole thing felt. I think AEW is, despite the fact that they're like clearly trying to do a different thing, and at the start we're very, very openly trying to do a different thing than WWE. I think AEW is, you could argue, is like a proof of, is like the whatever the opposite of proof of concept is. It's a failure of concept in terms of it established the fact that no matter how much money you have and what TV deal you have and you have all of the free agent wrestlers in the world available to you, you can't just snap your fingers and compete and be the same as WWE, be on the same level. Doesn't take anything away from AEW, but like if there were no AEW and Raw is still on USA, could Netflix do a wrestling version of that? I don't think so. I don't think they could do a one night of wrestling, even if they could get. What would be the biggest match? Like, if they could get The Rock and Goldberg or someone, or whatever, just like big, relatively free agent names. I don't think it would be the same. I really don't. I mean, Netflix is a great promoter and has shown the ability, but I think it's hard to beat. The whole reason I'm saying this is UFC. I think Saturday Night proved that UFC is beatable. That they're like no longer like. I don't know, would the world exist without him? I don't know. But that like Netflix was able to pull together a card that, with the exception of the number of rounds that were fought, and even including that, felt every bit like a big UFC show, was pretty wild. And also, Dana White, the rest of the UFC brass, have to be sitting there going, oh my God, how do they, like, not only does it look good, but they're using all of the stars that we made and that we have discarded. And with good reason, too, but like, it's no longer the case that if somebody wants to keep going after their UFC career, they got to go over to Japan or fight in like these like weird, just like super small time indies to kind of work their way back. Now, being ex-UFC is a moneymaker, right? I mean, now being the guy that got knocked out by whoever, if you get creamed by whoever, you could just go over to Netflix and have another big fight and use that name, coast off that name recognition. I don't know. I just thought it was impressive how close they got to the original, maybe even better than the original. And And especially in an era, like I said, where like a lot of the UFC stars are not people that you're super familiar with. I mean, UFC's been a star-making machine, but even they have run into the sort of failure of the grind after a while. You know what I mean? Like it's just too much churn, too many big stars that are gone. People get to top and they immediately retire, or they immediately, whatever. And it's crazy, but because they've made all these big stars. I was joking with somebody that like Chris Lieben. I don't even know if you remember Chris Lieben. He was on the Ultimate Fighter 1 and fought a bunch of UFC pay-per-views. Chris Lieben was a ringside judge on Saturday night. And I was like, I said, their ringside judge is a more famous fighter than most of the guys who like headline UFC shows. Like it's just the star power is sort of wild. I don't know. That's just the thought I had. But it did make me think about what a Netflix, non-WWE Netflix wrestling special would look like. I don't think it would be as easy to match as they match the UFC.
No, I mean, I think one thing we've all sort of realized in the Jake Paul era of prize fighting and watching people famous fight for free is that we want to watch famous people fight. That's really it. Like, it's not necessarily, I mean, I'm sure there are incredibly talented fighters that are in the UFC right now that probably have more skill than the guys that are just better on name recognition of the past, but nobody really cares to watch them fight. I mean, it kind of shows you how much UFC took this Netflix thing seriously that they announced Conor McGregor's return right during Francis Ngannou's entrance. You know what I mean? Like right as he's entering the ring, they announced that, the UFC's biggest star, mixed martial arts biggest star, is coming back for a fight. And he hasn't fought in almost, almost a decade? He hasn't fought in a long-ass time. And they know a lot of people were going to be watching this Netflix fight simply for the fact that it was on Netflix and it has people you've heard of before. I think the general casual fight watching public just wants to see people fight that they know. We just want to see famous people fight.
Yep.
And they're probably going to release some ratings in a few hours, probably after we're done taping this. It's going to have some crazy number that the UFC's probably never even scratched before. But, it's interesting to see, like, does the evolution, and I know this has nothing to do with wrestling, but it kind of does with the whole TKO of it and Netflix of it all.
No, it does.
But is the evolution of the UFC seeing greater fighters or more famous fighters or people that like?
Well, okay, it's interesting
in watching.
You saw what happened when Brock Lesnar said he wanted to go to MMA. Dana White said no. When CM Punk said he wanted to go to MMA, he got a faster yes. But Dana White resisted that call for a long time.
Yeah.
I think one of the problems is that Dana White, and this is to his credit, we all know who he is now, but we forget that he spent over a decade trying to save the UFC from being banned. Right?
Yep.
And when you have, the John McCain's of the world calling it human cockfighting and all this kind of stuff. And it's almost like when WWE was trying to get a PG rating on TV and they had to scale back to basically like less than a G just to convince everybody that they were really PG, I don't think, frankly, there's a lot of these former fighters that I think Dana White wouldn't have, he had as many reasons for not re-signing him, but I believe that some of them would have been seen as reckless people to re-sign, and that's something that Dana White can't really mess with. Like you can't sign, I'm not saying that any of these people were, but like, I mean, the story that I was heard, no idea if it's true, is that he like signed Chuck Liddell. Chuck Liddell just finally, I think, had his job eliminated at TKO, or maybe it was when they took over. But like, Chuck Liddell was employed as an EVP there, or VP or something for like, so long. And what people would always tell me is it was to keep Chuck Liddell from going out and taking fights when he was like, in his 50s. It's just like, we're going to keep paying you. You can't go do anything else. You sometimes have to be, the good angel on the shoulder of some of these older fighters. But I'm saying there's some of these old fighters who've taken way too many pops to the head who I'm sure would probably like, I'm sure Dana White is smart enough to know if he had a Legends fight that started off every pay-per-view, it would bump the rating, right? But like, you can't do that. You can't do that because it looks like you're doing fucking bum fights, like.
Well, you kind of are, because on top of that, like the whole reason why this Netflix and MVP, mixed martial arts team that has an audience because you don't pay your fighters fairly.
Okay.
Like, you're not paying them enough to retire. You're not paying them enough
I
to
think
not
it
take
would
more
happen
fights.
regardless, but yes, the paying thing is a real thing. I just want to make one point. Because I'm sure UFC and TKO will take exception to this and try to play down Netflix's success or welcome, whatever. They're in a conflicted position. But I just want to say this. There was a lot of talk about wrestlers unionizing. We weren't here last week. Sorry about that, guys. We didn't do our second episode. Life intervened. But there's a lot of talk about unionization. I'm a longtime proponent of wrestlers unionization, especially in a world where WWE has basically like a set contract rate, like we were talking about for a lot of NXT performers. There's sort of a set contract for a lot of people coming up to the main roster. There was some talk that they were trying to normalize and like a ceiling, with some of those contract renegotiations they did to sort of. And again, it was a ballpark hypothetical that a real legit person told me, but they were just like, I think they just want everybody's salary to cap out at $750. In a world where WWE is standardizing contract numbers, Jesus Christ, why not have a union?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously Roman Reigns, CM Punk, Cody Rhodes, they're making more than $750. They're not being asked to renegotiate. But with the problem with the union is always the top guys, right? Because the thing with the top guy, and it's not just in wrestling, if you know a genius, if you know a billionaire, if you know someone who is just like this most successful in the world either by reality or by product at what they do, like if a real idiot invented an alarm clock that made $1 billion, like still anybody in that category, they're always on some level proponents of the free market, of unbridled capitalism, because they think everybody should be able to have the success that they had. If only they had worked hard as me, they would have it. It all works out. But that's not true. It doesn't work out for everybody, no matter how hard you work. And I just want to say, I'm droning on too long. But for all the people on the other side who say, let capitalism do its job, like whatever, this is just capitalism. What are you going to say? We're a capitalist country. What are you going to do? What happened on Saturday night, that was fucking capitalism. Capitalism is not unbridled success without competition. Capitalism is somebody walking into your market and saying, hey, I can do that too, and doing a better job than you with the success, with the groundwork that you created, right? Mm-hmm. So UFC, TKO, for all their pro-capitalism cheerleading, should theoretically, philosophically, be like, congratulations, Netflix. You really did it. You did some capitalism right there. But, of course, I'm sure they're pissed off. Anyway, it was a good show. The short matches didn't bother me at all. There was a couple where it was just like, this is getting a little bit too rough for this sort of mismatch.
They rolled Nate Diaz out there to get bloodied up for our entertainment.
Nate Diaz, who like
he's like John Moxley. It's like he's gonna bleed.
Oh my God. He's like Ric Flair. He's like, you like blow on his eyelids and they bust open.
Whatever.
What happened to him though? In the back of his
whatever plaster
that
they use, whatever plaster that they use to paste his face back together every time he's out there.
Oh God.
It could plug up concrete on the street. I promise you. Like every time his face comes back a little bit more like Clayface, like what's the dude's name from
which one?
Oh my gosh.
Clayface is the right comp. I'm trying to wonder.
Well, Clayface is the one, but there's the other one when he's touching. Remember the movie when he's like touching your face? He's like, "Oh my God, you're beautiful." Then she's blind. The girl.
The Mask.
The Mask. It's like that. It's like every time he comes back, it's like, yo, they just put some more shit on his face. Like it's like you can poke it and it's gonna bloody. It's like he has so much.
That was the secret of that was the part of the mask that you didn't realize. He was just a legendary cage fighter. He just put in a lot of reps. That's why he looked like that.
All his stats
he didn't have cauliflower ear. He just had cauliflower face and and staph infection instead of blood. It was just that's the way you looked.
It was hilarious. Like the stats they had up for Nate Diaz was like founder of BMF title. 39th professional fight. I'm like, yeah, they're not showing his record.
It's funny. It's funny. There's almost like if you have the marketing component down, And Netflix is certainly helped by the other fights they've put on, and frankly by the Jake Paul business model in general, that people are sort of like used to going outside the normal subscriptions, or just they're used to big cards popping up again for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
The general consumer is used to it for the first time since like Tyson. I mean, they just like whatever, and so everybody gathers around the fireplace or whatever to watch this fight, and I think it could be super successful. It would be funny to see what a Netflix-backed, if there was no WWE involved, no AEW, what a Netflix-backed pro wrestling mega event would look like, though. Just the biggest stars of yesterday, which are mostly still under contract. But, like, could Netflix have gotten the bidding for the John Cena's last match? If they were just like, you really want to do your last match there? You sure? Because we'll sign you to a 10-movie deal with Netflix, and, like, that could be... It could have been pretty interesting. Anyway, should we talk about wrestling for a change?
Yeah, let's do that.
What's going on in wrestling? I don't even know. Oh, I have some wrestling to talk about. Did you see Darby Allin, who I've been singing the praises, whose praises I have been singing ever since he became the champion, and for some time before that. I feel that he like passed out mid-match on Saturday. Did you see that or that match, or at least a clip of that?
I saw the clip going around online.
He's fucking losing it to MJF.
Yeah.
There was a point where I don't know if I said it out loud, but when I was so over the moon about the open challenge, I was just like, well, you can really only do this if you're only doing it for a month or two. If you're really doing every Dynamite and Collision. It's like, this is not sustainable. So I guess they're already telling the story about how he's going to lose the title back to MJF. I was fucking enjoying this thing. Here's the one thing I don't get. I can suspend disbelief for an open challenge because I don't always pay attention, even though I'm the wrestling podcaster. I don't always look at the show previews unless we're recording that day, right? A lot of times I watch Dynamite like cold. I just turn it on. I don't know what they've announced. I barely have the audio up loud enough to hear the stuff for later in the show. I'm just constantly surprised when I'm watching Dynamite through the first time. But he announced he's fighting Speedball Mike Bailey on Dynamite, which I'm all for, don't get me wrong. And he was cutting the promo, and I'm sure this has happened before, but he was just like, Speedball, you want a match for this title? Then you got it on Dynamite. If I walk out of here with the title tonight, but like, I'm sorry, I know this is so dumb. I can suspend disbelief when someone says the open challenge starts now and then they wait and someone's music plays, because there's this concept of like, well, Speedball Mike Bailey ran the fastest to Gorilla, right? Like somehow he won the race to get the number one contendership. But when you're announcing matches in advance because the challenger has called you out, I have to ask, where the fuck is Will Ospreay? Where the fuck is Kenny Omega? Where the fuck is John Moxley? Where the fuck is Hangman? Where the fuck is Swerve? Where the fuck is Bandito, Bobby Lashley? Like people who could really beat him. Like shouldn't the headliners just be like, who were literally trying to murder each other over a shot at the belt a couple months ago? Shouldn't they just be like, I would like a title shot, please? In kayfabe.
They should.
But they're not.
Like, I don't mind it because of the story that they're telling. Like, here's my rule. If the logic failure results in something I'm enjoying, I'm willing to overlook it.
Okay.
Like, I'm willing to just be like, oh, okay. Like, how everybody was like,
no. I mean, and that's
going super ham to try and kill MJF.
Totally right. But it would be nice if there were like a light. I mean, I guess you could say Ospreay and Moxley have their own shit going. Like they all have their own shit going on. Although Swerve, the shit that Swerve has going on is very confusing because he showed up in Bandito's, Westworld, and then nothing happened until they just got coincidentally announced as like first round opponents for the Owen Cup. I mean, and that was kind of odd. But aside from that, they all kind of have their own stuff going on. I get it. But it would be great if, like, Kenny Omega answered the open challenge with Darby on, like, with his, like, arm in a sling and just, like, already bleeding from the last fight. And Kenny Omega won the title and then acted like a babyface, even though he was going to get treated like a heel. That would be a fun story. right? Where he was like, what? I thought you guys wanted me to win. That's kind of the Sami Zayn story, except he lost the title. Anyway.
For sure. Yeah, but now that's the story, man. Like, whoever ends up taking advantage of a maligned Darby Allin is going to get MJF level heat. So I get it. Like,
Listen, you're right. I like what he's doing. If I'm going to be a kayfabe nerd about it, I'm not. Then yeah. I mean, I don't know why. Yeah. Why is he calling out the Ring of Honor talent, Sammy Guevara? Yeah, I mean, I get they have a history, but like, so I won't complain because Sammy Guevara showed up, man. That match was a lot of fun. That was a good collision. What else? Anything else from Collision worth mentioning? Willow beat Red Velvet. That was really good. Oh, I mean, just kind of. Ali Catch wrestled on Collision, which is really cool, and Kaya McKenna, both indie wrestlers of some renown. But I love Ali Catch. She's just one of the greatest. That was really cool. And I just want to say Anthony Bowen's maybe the platonic ideal for a guy you just throw into a group because he's got nothing else going on, but does a great job of it. Like, I feel like Anthony Bowens is a perfect member of the ops who is he an op? Or is he an ops? Is he one of the ops? He's an op?
He's one of the ops.
Okay. I'm going to call him an op. But he just throw him in there. There's no reason to put him in there. He doesn't have any storyline thing that makes sense for that group. No, he's perfect. He just like looks like, especially in AEW, it's like if you just have one like jacked guy, like not even like a tall guy, just a guy who's just like a crazy gym rat, like put him in your group. You got to have one of those.
He can never have enough of them.
Yeah. But yeah, that was a whole lot of fun. What was the highlight of SmackDown? Trick's hometown return?
Trick's hometown return. You had Royce Keys and Gunther having a hell of a match.
What did you think about that match? I couldn't help but watch that match and think how excited, but not excited, not like trying to make it score a point, but like trying to imagine how that match would have felt if it happened in AEW. Like if Gunther had been fired in one of those talent purges where it seemed like they were letting everybody go and showed up in AEW, then people would be so excited about like Walter versus Royce Keys because it would be freaking Andre versus Big John Studd of AEW. I mean, these two like giant dudes who can actually go. That said, the fact that it was happening in WWE, I was kind of very interested to see what it would look like in the ring. And I thought it looked really good. I thought Royce is certainly, I don't know. He was out so much with the injury in AEW and had to wrestle such a big man style. Again, I'm not exactly sure. I wasn't sure what I was going to get from him. Man, that guy's has done a lot of work since I really paid hard attention to him. He's got all the little transition-y shit down. He's got moves at different levels, like depending on how his opponent collapses into the corner. Like he's almost like an arcade game character. Like he's got a different attack for high, medium, and low. You know what I mean? Like it's very just like well considered pro wrestling. And he's certainly not a Gunther in terms of ring work, but he hung. Like, yeah, I thought that match was really good. And by the way, what a beautiful way to set him up as a main event player. Just to take Gunther's title match off the table for less than an episode of SmackDown, give it back to him. But along the way, we get Royce Keys shoehorned into the conversation, which is great. What did you think about that whole thing?
I'm always just a fan of using logic, you know what I'm saying? And I like to think that wrestling is a TV show about a sport.
Uh-huh.
So when there's a contract signing,
yeah,
shouldn't anybody, like if the contract's just there and you have a pen?
No, but it has to have the.
Why shouldn't you just be able to just walk up to there?
There are certainly been times in wrestling history where that happened, right?
Yeah.
Technically, if you want me to get really boring about it, well, your name is typed underneath the line where you signed. The two things have to match.
I can't see that.
I'm just saying, if your name, I can't like if I was like signing a new deal with the Ringer, you couldn't run in and like body check me and sign your name there. Like they're like, no, you're not the person we've been negotiating with.
But I also think that it has to do with who again, kayfabe speaking. If it's a contract signing, I feel like the champion has power of attorney over these contracts. Like he's the one who approaches or is approached first.
Not power of attorney, but yes, he has like the right of first refusal or
right of first refusal. There you go. Right. So if somebody if he has a contract offer with Gunther and Gunther refuses to sign it, it's kind of like if I have a job at the freaking Sports Illustrated. And the Ringer doesn't want to resign me, and I'm sitting there waiting for it. I should be able to just go to Sports Illustrated, right? Yeah. And if I'm cool with the people at Sports Illustrated, like if there's some legal mumbo jumbo, I'm Royce Keys. Cody Rhodes is my man. I should be able to hit Cody up and be like, yo, you don't want to fight Gunther? I'll fight you. Go and scratch that name off and put mine on top. I'm sure that played into it a little bit. So that's why I like that part. I like when you could use just some silly wrestling logic of contracts and how they're supposed to work, and be like, well, yeah, of course you could just walk out and just sign your name on a paper. And
by the way, the contract thing, great kayfabe question. In kayfabe though, it's not that shocking that you wouldn't come. I mean, somebody should run out and try to sign it, but it's crazy that people in kayfabe spend all this time talking to general managers when all you have to do to get a title match is like go hit the champ with a chair, right? I mean, that's always been the thing. All you got to do is make a shocking run in, attack the champion, and he's morally obligated to fight you at the next pay-per-view. I mean, that's just the way it works.
That's how it works.
But yeah, there's a lot of stupid questions out there. That's why we love pro wrestling so much, man. I thought, but what do you think about what have you thought about Royce Keys on WWE television so far?
Well, his presentation has been something where it's like, he seems like the test dummy for WWE content outside of what happens on TV. It's like they're not really telling you his story. Like they don't really have a story to tell from AEW, but they're always like make references to like these videos that they shot or like a podcast that he sat down with Stephanie McMahon or
it's almost like
a relationship with Jacob Fatu.
It's like you got to like read the footnotes. It's like if you want to learn about this, you can, and we'll put the information out there.
Yeah, like it's like they're using him as a way of being like, all right, how can we get this guy over without necessarily giving him all the TV time because like other people need it. So like they use these little tricks throughout like the TV shows and the podcasts and their interviews to help sort of like shape what kind of guy he is, right? Like the fact that like I didn't need to see the interview to know that like there's a level of respect that he has for Cody and Cody has for him without even knowing, you know what I mean? Like that which made that make sense, So I would say, man, like still a work in progress, you know what I mean? Like still, you know what I mean? Still coming around, but the fact that they've involved him in stuff with Jacob Fatu, the MFT, Solo Sikoa, Gunther, Cody, like they're positioning him in a way that like he'll be an important player on SmackDown.
Yep, absolutely.
Like SmackDown is Cody's show, and it feels more and more like Cody's show every week. When you got Ricky Saints, Jade Cargill,
it's Fatal Influence show, but they let Cody hang around.
Yeah, he runs the show over there. So if that's any indication of how Royce Keys is going to be presented there, that's all you need. It's Cody's show.
Dang. You could take the losers from SmackDown and start your new Netflix promotion. Julia, Kiana James, Ricky Saints, Tama Tonga, Royce Keys. I mean, Meechin, B-Fab, The Miz. I mean, they got it. It's weird. It's a lot. It's a very, not young.
I feel like almost all those guys have had a cup of coffee in AEW, no? Wasn't Tama in the AEW for a hot second?
No, I don't think so. I think Rocky Romero might be confused with, but I don't remember. But yeah, anyway, good shout. I mean, shout out to Royce Keys and Gunther. I think Gunther was also a really good test for Royce about how he's going to be able to work with big men, who aren't necessarily monster big men, The first time you put him up on his shoulder. What'd you say?
Yeah. It's nice to see Gunther work with other big men too.
Yeah, it's always really fun. But the first time he put Gunther up in his shoulder, there was a moment where I was like, okay, let's see how much strain goes into this. And it was zero strain. And then when he did the power slam, I was like, is he going to be able to protect the head for somebody this tall? And he did it really. I mean, it looked terrifying, but he did it perfectly. And the spine buster is just a thing of fucking beauty. He did that reverse in AEW, or did he do the power slam? Was his finisher in AEW, right?
Yeah, it was like a running power slam.
Because he does that still, but then he finishes
like the Oklahoma version.
Yeah. Anyway, I think the spine buster. It's like if you can figure out a way that you do a basic move in a way that makes it feel like a finisher, then that's your finish. You know, it was so good. So yeah, I'm excited to see where they go with that. By the way, you're talking about all this other stuff. Remember when WWE had the second screen experience? Remember when they were pushing that really hard?
Yes.
Did I ever tell you how I introduced Stephanie McMahon to the concept of the second screen experience?
No, I did not know that.
Yeah, we'll tell you that story some other day. Yeah, I mean, I know that the copyright issues, there's so many IP problems with this or whatever, but it would probably be, I bet there's going to be a new front in advertising, not just in WWE, but everywhere. But in WWE, it's really easy to visualize, where there's like basically just a Snapchat playlist going on in a constant stream when you're watching WWE that just gives you 30-second clips of the relevant backstory. You know, like it's not just WWE clips, but you get to see the Royce Keys and Jacob Fatu wrestling on the Indies clips. You know, you get to see all this stuff, so it actually like layers and makes sense. You see Royce talking to Stephanie. You know, I think you could do a lot of fun with that, but I don't know if a business could actually do it. Anyway, we got a big interview coming up. Before we get to it, what else do we want to talk about? Any big news? Oh, Evil and Iyo Sky are officially married. He looks great in AEW. I mean, in NXT, by the way. It'd be interesting to see how they evolve that character. But apparently, I had no idea that they've been together for a long time, and they finally tied the knot. Now that they're both in the U.S., so congratulations to those guys.
Yeah, very saucy wedding pictures, by the way. Love them. Love them.
There's a picture of them. How much Evil have you watched from New Japan?
Not a ton. Not a ton.
How good does he have to be for them to take the title as most talented wrestling couple?
Oh, gosh. I mean, Io's doing a lot of heavy lifting.
Right. I'm saying Iyo Sky is the greatest. I mean, Iyo Sky is, frankly, I think you rank her above Bianca Belair at this point. Just because Bianca Belair is such a question mark, no offense. But I'm even trying to think of men who would be on that level. I mean, I guess Will Ospreay is married to what's her name, the Brawling Bird, Alex Windsor. I mean, yeah, I guess there's a bunch of super talented people who are married to other wrestlers. But if Naruto's like a, B+, they might take the cake.
Mm-hmm.
It's very polarizing in ring style, I know, but still.
I mean, anyway. Seth and Becky probably, and Punk and AJ, those are some heavy shoes to fill as far as most talented.
But just in terms of ring work, I mean, obviously Seth and Becky are up there.
Becky and Seth, I'd say, Who else is even close?
I mean, Becky Lynch is the greatest female professional wrestler alive, probably, but in terms of just bell to bell, I don't think she's nearly the same level as Iyo Sky. You know what I mean? Just ring work wise, she's very, very good. All right, let's run through some other news. Baron Corbin, there's been rumors about a WWE return, and the latest rumors is that he might be Danhausen's giant Danhausen friend.
I think they're gonna bring the gingerbread cookie back to life.
Oh no, you're right. The gingerbread man. Mm-hmm. But what? So is he wrestling as the gingerbread man, or is Baron Corbin dressed as the gingerbread man?
I don't want this to be one of those things that like we take entirely too seriously that never comes to fruition. So when it's like, wait a minute, I thought he was supposed to be it. If you're telling me you're gonna do an exorcism on a dead gingerbread cookie, I'm willing to see this out and see exactly where that goes. So, and I don't want to disappoint myself if it ends up being something that's not Baron Corbin. So, yeah, I want to see where this Danhausen gingerbread man exorcism takes us first.
Would you be excited just in the abstract about a Baron Corbin return to WWE?
I always thought he was a little overhated. You know what I mean? Like
overhated, not overrated, overhated.
I think he was a little overhated, man. Like I thought Baron Corbin was. I kind of think him and like Austin Theory were like the last of the McMahon guys that kind of got bad raps after like the change of, you know what I mean, regimes. Yeah. You know what I mean? And you know, I always thought Corbin was at least a future WWE champion. You know what I mean? Like he won Money in the Bank. He was like the constable. He was around the McMahons all the time. Like retired Kurt Angle. Like definitely in the class of like your Wade Barretts and like Ken Andersons and people that you thought were like upper level, mid-tier, upper level heels.
I know this is really
might have had a world championship run in a different time, but who knows?
I know this is really obvious, and I'm sure I'm not the first one to say it, but I didn't understand they have him in these like basically like leather pants, and the whole time like everybody's making jokes about it, how he has a little, you know, he has a little like extra skin around his waist, right? He's like a little bit of flab there because he used to be so much heavier playing on the O-line. Like, why would you not just put him in the Damian Priest outfit? Like, why not just put him in put him up the straps? You would never talk about it. He would look like a real badass. Also, and I say this with great sympathy as a bald man, there's like limited things you can do when you're like really a white guy shaving your head out of baldness, right? And you don't have a giant thick beard. I can sympathize with that too. I've had a beard, as discussed on the show. But
he's got banter, man. That's what made him so good.
But you can't just be funny. He's got. But I feel like there was a pro wrestling fashion consultant that could do him some favors. That's all I'm saying.
My favorite. He's one of my favorite in mid-match shit talkers that there was. Like he'll always just say something just mad. Like when he told Apollo Crews to go back to Ring of Honor.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, he's incredibly funny. He's incredibly funny to be a guy that big, to have so much of your, you know, comedy entrusted to you on a show like that. Yeah, I mean, he's had a good run. But he did kind of reach a point where you're like, what are you going to do with him? So who knows? Maybe he'll be the gingerbread man. Maybe he'll be something else. Maybe they should just bring him back. Remember when there was the Underfaker that came out? Or the fake Undertaker? They should just cast Baron Corbin as like the Underfaker Damian Priest. Just put him in the mask and give him a wig and Damian Priest's outfit, and it'll be funny. Everybody will laugh. Okay. Also, Big Bill is potentially a free agent. This is the question. Is it time to? Oh man, this is crazy. This is a wild thing to say.
Bring back Enzo and Cass?
Yeah.
It was been time. It's been time. It's been fucking time. Like, the next time I see Big Bill, he better have Enzo next to him. I mean,
it seems to me that Enzo and Cass are the perfect TKO wrestlers. Like, you could... And I know there's reliability, or there might be reliability issues. I mean, who knows what Enzo's situation is. I know it wasn't just the one disputed story that ended up getting him fired. Well, it was because he didn't talk to anybody about it. But I know there was some other stuff too. But I mean, Enzo's credit, he's dabbled in hip hop and everything else, but he's stuck with the wrestling thing. You know,
yeah, he's the fourth row flyweight champion, man.
He could have gone and done something else, and he kept at it. I think it would be huge.
Enzo opens every show.
Cass, yeah,
he opens every show. He helps creatively. He's the creative mind with Fourth Row, with West Side Gun and Smoke Diz and all those guys. He's gotten his life together. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what happened to you know, outside of what was reported, to why he was released from WWE, but like, you'd be hard pressed if Big Bill, Cassidy, whatever his real shoot name was, Big Cass, returns to WWE or has an opportunity to return to WWE. This is his best shot. His best shot isn't to get back to the big stage. Isn't by himself. It's with Enzo. So I mean,
look, great. There's a world. Listen, Enzo and Cass at their peak. And I'm talking their main roster peak. Remember Enzo cutting a promo without a microphone peak. At their absolute apex. it was easy to imagine a world in which they like headline a pay-per-view. Now finding the match for him is a little bit unconventional, but think about the various ways in which, you know, the New Age Outlaws were deployed in the Attitude Era or whatever. You know, you'd have to be a little bit more interesting about the way you book them.
That's true.
But I think there's such star potential there. I think that's got to happen. All right. What else? What is there any other big news? Oh, did you see that Rusev and Gangrel are starting a wrestling school in Nashville?
I did see that.
What's would you trust your...
The fuck if I know? I don't know. You can't even know they were friends. What the fuck?
Gangrel trained Rusev, actually. So it's a teacher-student thing. Would you trust one of your friends to go train under them?
Well, Rusev's great. I never met Gangrel before.
I assume Gangrel's great. He's been teaching for a while. He has those legit... He has shoot fangs, which is pretty wild. I mean, that's commitment to a character. Like, he got those, like, fang implants.
Man. He'd still get a pop if he ever returned to WWE, which is a testament to...
They should have kept him around. They should have just booked him as something else, because there were so many new gimmicks, like same guys with different gimmicks in that era, that it would be so funny if it was just like...
I'm shocked Gangrel doesn't have like the boogeyman deal, or just like every other
He just
year,
shows up every once in a while. Yeah. Was there
up,
something weird about it?
Spits the blood. You know what I mean? They play the music. Everybody just loves the music. Like, what's wrong with that?
Ben Cruz is in the chat saying, always bring back the Brood. No, not the Brood. I think it'd be funny to bring back Gangrel, or if they just repackage him on the fly. 1 week he's Gangrel, the next week he's like Dave Heath wrestling, park ranger or something like that, but he has fangs because he can't get rid of his own fang. He literally has shoot fangs. That would be hilarious. Anyway, on Raw tonight, we got some more El Grande nonsense. I mean, it's in the best possible way. They had a huge AAA show this weekend. It felt like an old Memphis show, like just great brawling and animosity. Roman Reigns is there. Obafemi's Open Challenge is there. Your women's tag titles are on the line again. There'll be a lot to talk about. We have pay-per-views this weekend, so we have a lot to discuss on Thursday when we come back to you. Kaz, you want to get your plugs in?
Yeah, you catch me on Hot 97 mornings with Merrill every 6 to 10 a.m. every Monday through Friday. Brand new episode of 7 p.m. in Brooklyn with Carmelo Anthony. Special guest, Discount Double Check. Steve Novak is joining us. And tomorrow...
Oh, my God, I forgot about that nickname.
He's awesome. And tomorrow, if you're in the New York, New Jersey, Connecticut area, tune in to Hot 97 at 4 p.m. with Nessa, as myself, Merrill, Funkmaster Flex, everybody. We're announcing the official lineup for Summer Jam 2026, taking place at the Prudential Center in Newark, New Jersey. All right, so pull up. Should be a good one.
Joe Hendry's playing, isn't he?
Yes.
He's the headlining act. Thank you, Kaz. Thanks to our producer, Bruce Baldwin. Thanks for EP Ben Cruz. Thank you all for listening. Why Hulk Hogan Matters, available for pre-order now. Please buy my new book. That'll be my new catchphrase for a while. We'll see you back here later this week, humanoids.
Peace.